to the cloud. Well, hello friends, welcome to my video blog. Thank you for your time, for your energy, and I am super excited about this special video blog today because I'm bringing a guest. I'm bringing Paul Gyodo here, who is the co-founder of, not the co-founder, the founder of EON Zen Teacher Center in Boulder, Colorado. He's also the founder of Zen at Work, which its mission is to bring these practices to the professionals community, to the workforce, which is something we share in common. Paul has also been the co-founder of 2 tech companies. So I don't want you to think that Paul just, travels and just sits in meditation all day long. He is also a great achiever, and he helps a lot of CEOs, executives now through this practice and how to perform at the highest levels and navigate through these times right now, especially, which can bring a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. And I'm so happy that through these times right now of this crazy thing that's going on, I'm not going to name what is going on because I don't identify with it. I'm going to connect with some great friends. And Paul and I met, I believe, 4 or 5 years ago. And I was drawn to his philosophies right away because I was a beginner meditator at that time. And I've been meditating for 7 years. And Paul has been meditating for 30 years. So I wanted to bring him here to this blog to share some his wisdom with you, because I know a lot of you are experiencing tremendous levels of anxiety, overwhelm, fear in this uncertain times, and it's going to be uncertain for a long time. And maybe it's time to embrace the idea that times are always uncertain. So, Paul, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thanks, Alex, and so good to see you again. Yeah, I think we've known each other maybe 7 or 8 years, but we haven't seen each other. Haven't seen each other for a while, so I was really thrilled to
track of time.
yeah, right.
And here we are. So, Paul, I'm going to start this blog with the question: why meditation? Why it's the healthy thing to do, especially in times like now, but always. Why do we meditate?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I'll say that we humans have been meditating for millennia, thousands of years, right? Buddhism started 2,500 years ago, but people were meditating for millennia before that. And the reason is because it works. It works to get us recentered within ourselves in a way that we're no longer reactive to the different responses and reactivities that our body minds tend to throw up in the face of a very unknown, unstable, threatening, scary, confusing world. Our natural human tendencies are to kind of wrestle with those conditions in a way that isn't quite wholesome and tends to pull us off center. So meditation is just a perfect, simple, not always easy, but simple way to recenter in a way to resource from the inside and to operate more wholesomely, more compassionately, more powerfully.
I love that you use the word recenter because, through this epidemic right now, we find there's like 2 distinctive group of people who are navigating through these times with more ease, more calm, and then other people who are in survival mode, which is that state of stress, anxiety, right? So maybe we can attribute to some people are meditating, some people are not. So I love to use the word center. So my understanding of being centered is a state that you choose. It's a place that you can always come back to no matter what's happening on the outside, right? So it's almost like a choice. And maybe is our natural state to be in the place where we're steady, we're centered, we're in stillness, so we can respond to the circumstances using emotional intelligence, use a positive mindset, all these other tools that we have. So let's talk about people who are in fear, overwhelm, anxiety. So when you use the words be centered, use the words compassion, I will use the word love. And people in that survival place, what can we tell them how they can shift from that place of fear to more love and compassion when they're in the state that they feel like they need to be doing things, they need to be doing more so they don't lose their business, so they don't lose their house, so they don't lose their income, right? So if we're speaking to somebody in deep state of fear right now, what is the language we can speak to them so they can adopt this practice?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, before I get into the details of that, I want to say a little bit more about centeredness, because you brought up how important that is. And in my Zen at work, I've done a lot of research into how these qualities are being studied in the workplace. And I know you work with a lot of high functioning professionals, executives, type A people who are really driven. And as do I. There was a study done about 3 years ago, not that long ago, about the qualities that employees value in their leaders. And out of these 88 different qualities, the number one out of, and this was 1,000 employees, multiple thousands of people were surveyed, the number one quality that they wanted to see in their leaders was centeredness. It's the one quality of all of them that pulled everything else together. And that was the ability to be present with themselves, to listen clearly and non-reactively to what was going on, and to exude a sense that, okay, I'm kind of the calm at the center of the storm here. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the storm and the fears that we face. Okay, so fears are real, instability is real, the unknown is real, things are likely to not go the way we want them to, because that's how the world goes, right?
That's right.
They may go favorably, they may go unfavorably, maybe they do turn out exactly the way we want. And obviously we do have a lot to do with influencing, you know, what we manifest and how we show up in the world. But there's a lot we don't have control over. Our human body minds have a kind of offness about the way it deals with perceived threats, okay? And there's a great book called Why Buddhism is True that came out a few years ago by this evolutionary psychologist. And he points out how genetically we're programmed to overweigh threats. And the great example that he brings up is that you're walking down a forest path and you see something moving off to the side. Okay, the odds of that being a poisonous snake are 1 in a million, maybe higher, depending on where in the world you're walking, okay? Your genes don't care about that. The genes are poisonous snake, jump to the side, okay? It's not rational. It's from a genetic standpoint, it makes sense. Okay, I'll just move, there's no cost associated with me jumping to the side, okay? And now I've preserved the gene pool. That part of our body mind is still operative within the operating system of our body mind. So we bring that into an environment which is full of volatility, uncertainty, chaos, and ambiguity, right? These business environments that we're facing, or now our social environments that we're facing. And we have threats that we are going to respond to in an overreactive way. So that's going to pull us off center. It's going to just cause us to jump off the path when we don't have to, right? To just continue with that metaphor. So the meditative practice is to ground ourselves within the reality of our present moment, so that we can actually just witness very immediately, oh, stick being blown around by the wind. Okay, I don't have to react to that. And then you keep your eye on what you need to keep your eye on.
I love that. Ground us to the present moment. And that's another thing that a lot of us trainers, coaches promote, right? Like being in the present moment, because in the present moment, there's no stress. I stole that from one of the authors, one of the books here. He says in the present moment, there's no stress. And I find so much truth to that, because we are here right now. And that's when we can tell our survival brain that we are okay, that we are safe. And then from that place, we're able to respond from a guided action. So we're not acting from fear, but we're acting from actually what is really true, the data, right? The reality. And I know as a neurolinguistic program NLP practitioner, I know how much our brains distort reality based on our history or past experiences. Just like you said, you can see something moving in the bushes, and one person might go into panic, and another person might like, oh, don't worry, it's just a snake, right? It's depending on the past experiences as well, plus our genetics, because I know we still have a very primitive brain built for survival. So we need to train our brains to thrive instead of being in survival. And I see meditation as going to the emotional or spiritual gym, right? Being a personal trainer for 20 plus years, we go to the gym to lift weights, to change a condition of a muscle, to change the shape, to change the physiology of a muscle. And to me, meditation is like going to the spiritual gym where we get spiritually fit, so we can handle challenge, because I'm a big believer that we are built to handle challenges like we're going through right now. We are extremely strong, resilient. We're able to adapt. Some people more than others, of course. But I'm a big believer that, we are built for times like this. So with that said, Paul, let's speak again to that high achiever who right now at this moment is feeling overwhelmed, feeling anxious. Let's talk about specifically about anxiety, because I know that this quality, these emotions these emotions have different qualities. So let's speak about anxiety, which is that state of like basically physiological state of fear, right? And a lot of high achievers hold into their anxiety, because anxiety also gives energy, right? There's an energy that comes with that from the stress hormones. And then the problem is the energy gets stored in the body and it hurts us. So the people with anxiety who can even stop for 2 minutes, can you teach them a simple practice? Maybe they can use their mind or their bodies, how they can start shifting from anxiety, not eliminate or anything, but also use the anxiety as maybe a teacher at that moment for them.
Yeah, I'll address that. And I just want to point out the wisdom of what you just said, how you described that, which is that certain of us are drawn to the energy of that anxiety for a variety of reasons. But it points back to the muscle development that you mentioned a few seconds before that, which is what we're doing is, I think you said building our spiritual muscles, and that's kind of, maybe some people don't quite have a referent for that, right? It's your attentional, think of it this way, you can think of it as your attentional muscle, right? So our attention, we have very little control over the world, even our bodies, right? Illnesses that we get and whatnot. But one thing that we have a lot of ability to control and influence is where we put our attention. And all of meditative practices are based on this, where we put our attention, developing that attentional capacity, which then actually opens up incredible mental, emotional, and physical capacities. But it starts with that attentional capacity, right? So now you notice that anxiety conditions come up, and I'll say a little bit more about that. And where we bring our attention when those conditions come up is going to be the difference between whether you're turning them into creative forces or whether you're allowing those to destroy you, right?
Well said.
Okay. So anxiety, worry, and stress are three different things, okay? And usually we've got all three going on at one time, and they're all layered in and mixed together, and then we get worried about our stress and anxious about our worry and all things like that. But there's some benefit to geeking out a little bit on, what the difference is. Anxiety comes from a feeling of instability or insecurity, okay? A lack of grounding, right? And there's 5 main sources of key grounding that makes us anxious when we don't have it. It's financial or resourcing stability. It's physical security, okay, our physical fitness. And then that leads to existential security, okay, which is death, okay? Just our existential integrity. You have relational stability. So we really have to be firm in our core relations. And then you have epistemological or knowledge stability. What's real? What's true? Okay. So at a certain level, we may not be grounded in a lot of these. And in this moment with the pandemic and the virus, there's a lot of that, that's up. So that sense of instability is really troubling and difficult to deal with. there's a famous Buddhist teaching, which I know you know, Alex, and it's really wonderful. The Trungpa Rinpoche, Tibetan Buddhist master, he said this. He says, the bad news is that we're flying, plummeting through space without a parachute and nothing to hold on to. The good news is there's no ground.
Which might be, some people might like that, some people might not.
Exactly, but at a basic existential level, it's true. There's really nothing to hold on to. There's nothing that's ultimately stable. And as high-performing people, we build things and we build systems, and we have a grounding in our work and our business and our people and our teams. But also at the same time, it's never completely fixed. We're always called to like maintain the ground that we've developed. So it really is the case that we're wide open. And whenever that security gets threatened in some way, then we feel that effect of we're flying, plummeting through the air. So the main kind of attentional direction, in order to work with anxiety is just to, within your body, be comfortable with instability, be comfortable with the unknown, right? To actually just experience that and not resist it, because what we resist persists, but it persists subconsciously and it creates difficulties and decenteredness within our system, okay? So the way really to ultimately to be with anxiety is just to be with that sense of instability, just to, in a grounded way, with stillness and silence, just to be with the unknown. And I mean, we could do a 3-minute exercise now if you wanted to, or we
Let's
could
do that. Let's do that. And I invite you right now, who is watching, to not fast forward the video and do the practice. It's only 3 minutes, and we're all going to do it together, because I would like for you to experience in your body, in your biology, actually, what happens when you talk about what Paul just shared, like shifting your attention. What happens with that? Because we can't control our thoughts, but we can control where we put our attention on. So that's what we're going to experience here.
Okay, very good. So whenever you're working with a practice, even if it's for 3 minutes, you want to quiet down and slow down. Okay, stillness and silence become these great resources for us. And then you want to focus on your body, your breath, and your mind. You're just going to check in with the conditions of those things. So be in a relaxed and alert position in your body. Allow your breath to unfold in a relaxed way. You're going to move out of the visual and the verbal senses into your feeling sense and your hearing sense. And I can say more about that afterwards if we want to, but just for now, take the direction of closing your eyes, turning the attention inward. Feel your breath as it rises and falls. You can open your hearing to the oral field. And now as you tune in to your awareness, just see all phenomena, all senses, even thoughts, as clouds moving through the sky of your awareness. A feeling on your skin, a cloud. A thought, a memory, a word moving through your mind, just clouds. My words that you're hearing right now, just clouds. Just be the openness of the sky. You don't know where the clouds are going, you don't care. You're not analyzing the clouds. Don't need to worry about where they came from, what they're made of. Just be in the openness of the sky. So just for 2 minutes, just keep stepping back into that awareness of the sky. Allow yourself to be open. Any feelings, anxiety, discomfort, boredom, all of it is included within the sky. Okay, we can come out of that brief period of meditation and return our attention to our verbal and visual senses as we re-engage. So, how was that for you, Alex?
It's incredible what the power of 2 minutes of focused attention can do.
It's true.
And because our brain processes in images so much that it was super helpful to have a place to put the attention, which for me was the clouds. So anytime I had a thought, I literally would put inside a cloud and visualize this cloud just passing, right? Because one of my, I wouldn't say struggles, but for me, meditation a lot of times became just a time to be super creative. So I would write entire blogs, create entire like videos in my mind, which is, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Using that for creativity. But I think the intention meditation is a little different than, you know, write an entire book or a blog in the session. But this is something that really helps me to keep my attention and I use the images of ocean or a cloud or a breeze passing. But I think the cloud, it can really help people to slow down the mind, because I know a lot of people get frustrated with meditation because they can't stop the thinking.
Right.
That's an illusion. Like, well, let go the attachment to stop thinking, but put your thoughts in a cloud and let it pass. So I'm describing now, what I want to describe is the power of 2 minutes, because I'll just use myself as an example. I was having a little, I was experiencing a lot of emotions today. I'm going through a lot personally right now in my life. So there's a lot of transition going on for me, which can make my emotions being a little ungrounded. I was feeling a little ungrounded, and just having those 2 minutes allow me to be totally present, and all those stressors or stressful thoughts are like gone, and I could feel me coming, you know, myself coming back to the center. So I'm just want to share this because I was experiencing a little bit of like out of the ordinary for me, a little more stressful day. And only 2 minutes helped me to shift that state dramatically.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. And what you were saying about how helpful it is to have that place to put your attention. And that's why you're an accomplished meditator with 7 years. So you were able to kind of go into the cloud and ride it with also kind of a sky perspective, which is important. And this is why breath counting practice, just to bring your attention to the breath, is actually the most powerful one to do. I did our sky meditation, which is a little harder actually than following your breath. So I would recommend to people do following your breath. The sky meditation is particularly good for anxiety, but the breath, just following your breath, is very good, particularly for stress too. And I'll just say one thing about that, which is that, you know, with breath practice, we think it's boring, and particularly as high functioning people, we're being creative, or we're solving problems, or we're making problems, right? And so we think that it's not productive to just be counting the breath, and it's boring, right? Well, the thing is that we tend to overthink our problems and make too much of it. And we really do need the pause, the reset, which is what this pandemic is offering us, a time to pull away from our normal overdrive form of thinking and to do this thing, which actually is boring. But think of boring this way. The word boring comes from like a drill bit, boring into the earth. Okay, it goes round and round and round and round, doing the same thing over and over. Yeah, it's boring, but it's boring into something. And a breath practice is over and over and over, and you're actually accessing a deep wellspring of inner resource as you get in contact with your deepest heart mind.
Wow, I learned something new today from you. Always learning from you, but I didn't know the meaning of the word boring. And I think a lot of people, a lot of us, including myself, need to relearn how to be in boredom. Yes. So we don't always feel the need to distract and go do something, and can really cultivate the practice of stillness and steadiness and silence. And it's interesting because a lot of people that I talk to, they will love to go from a place of anxiety to a place of calm and peace, and yet they resist. So, well, do you think there's a fear also, like people fear being in silence with themselves? Is that part of the resistance?
Definitely. It's been proven. There was this study done in 2014, so 6 years ago now, which I talk about because it was shocking. Some of your viewers might have seen it. They brought a bunch of people in, a psychological experiment, brought a bunch of people into this room, several hundred, and they were told to sit down at this table, okay, and you're just going to sit in silence for 20 minutes, all right, by yourself. Oh, by the way, if you want, there is an electric meter right here. You hook yourself up to it and it will administer a very painful electric shock. If you want to, you don't have to do it, okay? And so I pose this, what percentage of people do you think administered this very painful electric shock to themselves? Do you want to guess?
Wow, okay, I have not read about this experiment. I would say a high percentage because they couldn't just sit in stillness and they needed something to rattle them from that place.
It's a really high percentage, and I won't put you on the spot, and it's different for men and women. 67% of men and 45% of women actually did this. So, I mean, women definitely smarter, definitely able to, generally. Right, because they're uncomfortable, just like you said, uncomfortable with the stillness, uncomfortable with the silence. We do have a natural aversion to it, and it's very toxic, actually, that aversion.
Wow,
to have to go almost in an addictive way, go for stimulation, go for mental activity. It's really the source of huge distress.
This might be associated why some people, for example, get addicted to the emotions of stress. Would you say?
Yes.
Yeah,
I would.
It's not just the chemicals, but also to that. They get addicted to that state.
That's right.
All right. So I was expecting to go here, but let's go a little deeper for a few minutes here. You said that people in this study rather get the shock than just sit with themselves. What are they afraid of, Paul? What do you think they're afraid of?
They're afraid of the openness and the freedom, which is also very vulnerable because you don't know what's going to happen. You're very exposed. So it's the unknown, it's the uncertainty, and it's the openness of that condition.
Fascinating.
Which is the source of our sensitivity, of our connection, of our creativity, comes from that place. But it comes with the requirement of courage, of facing the unknown and being willing to be confused and destabilized and not perhaps met in the way that you want to be met.
Wow, so powerful. So this ties up with a question I get from people frequently, and I got that question from one of my students today in my group, because she hears me speaking a lot about open your heart, to just keep deepening your presence, keep opening your heart. And I love that she asked, like, Alex, I don't resonate with that. I don't know what that means, right? So I think this ties what we were just talking about. So I'm gonna pass this question to you. Like, when somebody asks, how do I live with an open heart?
Yeah.
What would you say would be the first step for them to start the journey of opening their heart? I would say meditation is a great place to start, but let's see how you would answer that question.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to respect that question. For that person to say that is so wonderful. Like, what a great witness to herself. I think it was to her to say, I'm not, that's not resonating. I can't really do that. I get that. Like, I felt that way too early in my practice. So my guidance would be, feel your heart. Don't go to open. Okay, it's too much. And how, right?
Yeah.
So the main thing is feel the heart. And that's what meditation is doing. Core meditation is aligning physical, emotional, and mental bodies. So when I talked about the three core fundamentals of any meditation practice, it's body, breath, and mind. Body, physical, breath is emotional body, and then mind is mental body, obviously. So we're aligning those. So really, just even in the simple meditations I was talking about, that we've talked about here, what you're doing is you are getting that alignment into your emotional body. Then you could add a last little bit of guidance, which would be, let's do heart breathing. Okay, actually have that breath go into and out of the heart and start to refamiliarize yourself with what it feels like to have feelings, to have a heart.
You keep putting the attention of your breath in your heart.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Just to
And
clarify.
when we're young, we were in contact with our feelings so much more. And we, as adults, we cover it over and we protect ourselves, and then we forget actually what it feels like to feel. So we're in meditation, we're befriending, our feelings, which are here all along.
Yes.
And we're just creating strategies to not feel them, which are causing all of our problems, basically. So when we refamiliarize ourselves with that, it's like, it's almost like meeting an old friend or coming home. So we relearn how to feel. And then we can actually open. I choose to open to you or to this situation or to here.
Sure. Like being vulnerable is a choice to open a heart.
That's right. That's right.
And I love the answer. That was my short answer to allow yourself to feel. That's where you start. But none of us were taught that. I just read a brilliant book written by Dr. Mark Brackett. He's a professor at Yale, I believe, in emotional intelligence. And the name of the book is Permission to Feel, where he reminds all of us that, at least as kids, we're never taught to feel. If I express my anger, I was punished.
Yeah.
If I asked too much, I was punished, meaning not punished physically, but I will not feel loved by my mother if I express an emotion. So I learned at a very early age, it's like, don't show.
Right.
And it took like a couple of times of heartbreak, somebody breaking my heart, for me to learn and start journey of like having a heartbreak, and then meditating at the same time as I was going through a heartbreak, that brought me in, and I understood that the whole concept of opening our hearts, and I will never go back, because that's how we get to experience everything, the sadness and the joy and the hard and the easy and the happiness, and yes. So
well, it's such a wonderful gift what you're able to bring to the people who are working with you, because you see how it's all connected. Absolutely. Physical, emotional, and mental health, and then high performance are all connected, and you've walked that walk. It's great.
Walk that walk. So to finish here, Paul, why are you finding that, like myself, I have my answer, but I'd like to hear from you. Why is it so important to bring this practices, this philosophy to the workforce?
Mm-hmm. It's essential. I mean, I feel it's essential to bring to all aspects of life, right? For us to all be aligned in this way. But what I've recognized is that so many of us are alienated from our work in a way. We're not really connected to a core purpose. So the work isn't meaningful at the deepest level. And the way to make your work meaningful, which also then empowers your creativity and high functioning, because you see, when you're in touch with yourself, problems become easy to solve. It's only when you've got some kind of agenda. Yeah, exactly. But the highest functioning people are really in touch with their own centeredness and what they want and what they need. So it's inside. But when you're not in touch with that, with your presence, right? I'll just use that word, with being present. If you're not fully present, then you're going to have a gap with what you're doing in the world, what you're manifesting. And then it's going to go sideways, and you're also going to be demotivated because you're not really in line with your deepest desires to serve. So that's the big picture for me around why we should be practicing this. Is it resources you from yourself and reconnects you with your capacities and also with your purpose.
I love it. Resources. We're so resourceful. It's like I call resources or superpowers that can really be ignited to this
Yes.
practice.
Yes.
So, Paul, I hope people who are watching this video are getting curious about this practice, curious about your teaching. So tell our audience how they can find you, how they can practice Zen meditation with you if they want to, in a class or privately. Maybe one of the executives here are going to be watching, business owners going to be watching this, and they might want to do some work with you. How they can find you?
Oh, wonderful. Thanks for that, Alex. So there's two doorways to come in and work with me. If you're a professional who'd like to come in and work one-on-one or with some of my professionally focused programs, it's zenatwork.org, zenatwork.org. There's a contact form there, or paul@zenatwork.org.
Okay.
And then on the Dharma side, if you're interested more in Zen Buddhism and studying really, meditation, you're really is juicy around that. I've got a group here in Boulder, and we also have a lot of people around the world and out of state as well that I do virtual work with. So, and that's eonzen.org, eonzen.org.
Okay, and I will share, if you missed that, don't worry, you don't need to rewind the video. I will share these two places that you can connect with Paul, and I really hope you do. At least follow him on Facebook, because he is a man sharing tremendous wisdom that is very needed in our times right now. So last message, Paul, based on what we're going through right now, what is a message that you want to share with everybody right now?
Right now, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself and stay grounded. Those are my messages for right now. Grounding in your body, grounding in your relationships and your community, and in your well-being, and then serve from there.
Serve. I love that. Thank you, Paul. This was such a pleasure, and I'm going to have you back because there's so much for us to talk about in this platform, and I'm excited to have you as a guest next time. Thank you so much.
Good to see you again, Alex. I've loved this. Thanks for the invitation.
Of course. Thank you, Paul.
Okay. Bye.
Bye for now.